The ocean was calm the morning Laura realized love could still end. She stood barefoot on the balcony, the Mediterranean stretching out like a promise that had already been broken once. The air smelled of salt and citrus, and somewhere behind her a door clicked softly, the sound of Massimo waking, of another day beginning in a life they had fought so hard to build. For a moment, she wondered if this would be the day everything finally made sense, or the day it all fell apart for good. Their love had never been simple. It had burned hot and reckless, fueled by obsession, power, and a desire neither of them knew how to tame. After everything they had survived, betrayal, separation, danger, and loss, they had chosen each other again. Yet choosing love once does not guarantee choosing it forever. That was the truth, waiting for them now, unspoken but heavy between every glance and every silence. Massimo joined her, wrapping a hand around her waist, protective and familiar. He had softened in ways the world would never notice, but Laura did. She saw it in how he listened now, how he paused before speaking, how fear sometimes flickered behind his confidence. He had been raised to rule, to control, to never show weakness. Loving Laura had demanded he unlearn all of that, and the cost of change was higher than he ever admitted. They were supposed to be celebrating. A final journey, Massimo had called it. One last escape before reality pulled them back into the expectations of family, business, and a past that refused to stay buried. Laura smiled when he said it, but the word final stayed with her. Final could mean closure. Final could also mean goodbye. As they traveled along the coast, moving from sun-drenched towns to quiet hillsides, memories followed them like shadows. In Palermo, Laura remembered the night she had run from him, terrified of how deeply she felt. In a small seaside village, Massimo recalled the moment he realized love was not possession, that he could lose her if he tried to cage her again. Every place held a version of them, some reckless, some broken, some hopeful. The challenges they faced were no longer bullets or enemies hiding in the dark. They were quieter now, more dangerous in their own way. Trust was still fragile. Laura struggled with the fear that Massimo's world would always come first, that she would be asked again and again to shrink herself to fit beside him. Massimo battled the voice inside him that said control was safer than vulnerability, that loving fully meant risking everything. One night, after an argument that left them both raw and exhausted, Laura walked alone along the shore. The moonlight turned the water silver, and she let the waves numb her feet. She thought about who she had been before Massimo, about the woman she had become with him, and about the woman she still wanted to be. Loving him had given her passion and pain in equal measure. The question was whether it could also give her peace. Massimo found her there, not with anger, but with honesty. He spoke of his fears, of the legacy he carried, of the terror of waking up one day and realizing he had turned into the man he once hated. He admitted that letting go did not come naturally to him, that every instinct told him to fight, to dominate, to win. But love, he was learning, was not something you conquer. Their words did not fix everything. They did not promise perfection or a future without conflict. What they offered each other instead was choice. The choice to listen. The choice to walk away from old patterns. The choice to stay, even when staying was hard. The final stretch of their journey took them inland, to a quiet vineyard far from the noise of their usual lives. Time slowed there. Mornings were spent talking over coffee, afternoons wandering through rows of grapes heavy with fruit. Without distractions, they were forced to face each other fully. Laura spoke about her need for independence, for a life that was not defined solely by his name. Massimo listened, really listened, and for the first time did not interrupt or defend himself. In return, he asked her not to run when things became difficult, not to disappear behind walls of silence. He needed to know she would fight for them too, not just endure. It was an uneven exchange, filled with pauses and misunderstandings, but it was real, and reality, they realized, was far more powerful than fantasy. On their last night, they watched the sunset together, the sky painted in deep oranges and purples. Laura rested her head on Massimo's shoulder, feeling both the weight of the past and the fragile hope of what lay ahead. This journey was ending, but their story was not. It was changing, evolving into something less dramatic perhaps, but more honest. When they returned home, nothing around them had changed. The expectations were still there. The dangers, though quieter, had not vanished. But they had changed. They faced the world not as two people clinging to each other out of fear, but as partners choosing each other with open eyes. Love, they learned, is not about grand gestures or endless intensity. It is about showing up every day, even when it would be easier to walk away. It is about growth, forgiveness, and the courage to become someone better for the person you love. As the screen would fade to black in this final chapter, the message would linger. Passion can ignite a relationship, but only understanding can sustain it. Control can feel powerful, but trust is stronger. And the greatest journey two people can take is not across oceans or countries, but toward each other again and again, for as long as they choose to stay.